I found a photo tucked away in an old box, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just the picture itself, but what was scribbled on the back. Would you ever suspect your own family? The Chicago skyline shimmered outside my window, a million tiny lights against the inky sky. I took a long sip of my lukewarm coffee. Another late night. Another project I poured my heart and soul into, destined, I suspected, to be credited to someone else. Specifically, Michael, my boss. He was charming, charismatic, the kind of guy who could sell ice to Eskimos. And he was very, very good at taking credit for my work. It started subtly, a casual we when presenting my ideas in meetings. Then more brazenly, straight up stealing my PowerPoint slides, rebranding them with his name. Promotions I deserved went to him. Raises, forget about it. I was starting to feel like a ghost, toiling away in the shadows, while Michael basked in the spotlight. I work in marketing, a high-pressure world of deadlines, pitches, and endless meetings. It's 2025, and everything's hyper-connected. Social media algorithms dictate our lives. AR filters distort reality, and blockchain is supposedly revolutionizing everything. Our company, Stellar Marketing, is a small but ambitious firm, trying to make a name for itself in the cutthroat Chicago market. "Hey, can you come to my office for a sec?" Michael's voice boomed over the intercom. My stomach churned. Here we go again. I walked into his office. The walls were lined with awards, all earned on the backs of my ideas. "Have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his large, imposing desk. "I wanted to talk to you about the Henderson account. You've been doing great work." Liar. "Thanks, Michael," I forced a smile. "The thing is," he continued, leaning back in his chair, "the client wants a fresh perspective, something more Michael." I clenched my fists. "And what does that mean?" "It means I'll be taking over the presentations. You can provide support." Support. That was code for do all the work, get none of the credit. "I see," I said, my voice tight. What could I say? I was just one person, and he was the boss. But something inside me snapped. That night I couldn't sleep. The neon city lights flashing over a deserted alley seemed to mock me. I kept replaying the conversation with Michael in my head. Was I just going to let him walk all over me? Was I going to let him steal my dreams? No. I decided then and there that I wasn't going to take it anymore. I was going to fight back. But how? I was just one person against a powerful, charismatic man. I needed a plan. A good one. My best friend Sarah was a cybersecurity expert. She worked from home, surrounded by glowing monitors and tangled wires. She was brilliant, fiercely independent, and always ready for a good fight. "He's stealing your work? That's messed up," she said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "We need to find something on him. Something he doesn't want anyone to know." I felt a flicker of hope. "You think you can?" "I can try, but it might take some time." Days turned into weeks. I kept working, churning out brilliant ideas, knowing that Michael would take the credit. But I was playing a long game. I was gathering ammunition. One evening, Sarah called. "I found something," she said, her voice low. "It's interesting." She'd managed to access Michael's encrypted cloud storage. Buried deep within a folder disguised as personal photos were financial records. Not just any financial records, but documents detailing a series of suspicious transactions. Transfers to offshore accounts, shell companies, and payments to individuals with shady reputations. "He's embezzling," Sarah said, her voice filled with disbelief. $125,000, at least. $125,000. My jaw dropped. This wasn't just about stealing credit for my work. This was criminal. "What do I do?" I asked, my mind racing. "That's up to you," Sarah said. "But you have the power to expose him, to bring him down." I thought about it long and hard. I could anonymously leak the documents to the authorities. I could ruin his career, his reputation, his life. He deserved it, right? He had been stealing from the company for years. He had stolen from me. But then I thought about his family, his wife, his 2 young children. Did they deserve to suffer for his sins? Was I willing to destroy their lives to get revenge? The moral dilemma was tearing me apart. What would you do if you were me? I decided to start small. I anonymously sent a tip to the company's internal audit department. They were notoriously slow and inefficient, but it was a start. A week later, nothing had happened. Michael was still strutting around the office, taking credit for my work, completely oblivious to the ticking time bomb beneath his feet. I was starting to lose hope. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Then, I received a message on my encrypted messaging app. It was from an unknown number. "You can't hide forever," it read. My blood ran cold. How did they know? Was Michael onto me? Was I in danger? I deleted the message and blocked the number. I didn't tell Sarah. I didn't want to worry her. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that someone knew what I was doing. I started taking extra precautions. I changed my passwords, encrypted my hard drive, and covered my webcam. I was living in a constant state of paranoia. One morning, I arrived at the office to find a strange scene. Yellow tape cordoned off Michael's office. Security guards stood at the door. "What happened?" I asked one of the guards. "Internal investigation," he said, his voice grim. "Mr. Henderson is assisting with inquiries." My heart leaped. The audit department Michael was being investigated. I walked into the office, my mind racing. I had done it. I had exposed him. But then I saw something that stopped me in my tracks. On Michael's desk, amidst the scattered papers and files, was a photograph. It was a picture of me, and on the back, scrawled in familiar handwriting, was a message. "She's the one." My mother's handwriting. My world tilted on its axis. My own mother had betrayed me. She had told Michael about my plan. But why? What could she possibly gain from protecting him? I confronted her that evening. She denied everything at first, but eventually the truth came pouring out. Years ago, my father had invested in a risky business venture. It failed miserably, leaving him with crippling debts. Michael, it turned out, had been a silent partner in that venture. He had lost a significant amount of money. My mother, desperate to protect my father from financial ruin, had made a deal with Michael. She would provide him with information about my plans in exchange for him forgiving my father's debt. I was stunned, betrayed, hurt. My own mother had chosen to protect a criminal over her own daughter. "I did it for your father," she sobbed. "I didn't want him to lose everything." "And what about me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What about what he did to me?" She had no answer. I walked away, my heart broken. I didn't know what to do. I could expose Michael and ruin my father's life, or I could protect my father and let Michael get away with his crimes. The moral dilemma was back, even stronger than before. Was I willing to sacrifice my own happiness for the sake of my family? I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I just replayed the events of the past few weeks in my head, trying to make sense of it all. Then I received another message on my encrypted app. This time, it was from Sarah. "Meet me at the Bean," she wrote. "Urgent." The Bean, a giant reflective sculpture in Millennium Park, was a popular tourist attraction. I found Sarah standing near the sculpture, her face pale. "I found something else," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Something you need to see." She showed me her phone. On the screen was a series of bank statements, Michael's bank statements, and on those statements were regular payments to a woman named Maria. Maria was Michael's wife. Sarah had traced the embezzled funds. It turned out that Michael wasn't just stealing from the company. He was also stealing from his own family. He was using the money to fund a secret life. He was living a double life. I felt a surge of anger. This man was a monster. He was destroying everyone around him. I made a decision. I went to the authorities. I told them everything. About Michael's embezzlement, about my mother's betrayal, about his secret life. The investigation was swift and thorough. Michael was arrested and charged with multiple felonies. My mother was questioned, but ultimately not charged. The scandal rocked Stellar Marketing. The company's reputation was tarnished. Many people lost their jobs. But in the end, justice was served. Michael was held accountable for his actions. He lost everything: his job, his reputation, his family. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. I testified against him at his trial. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I also forgave my mother. It wasn't easy, but I realized that she had acted out of desperation. She had made a mistake, but she loved my father. It took time, but we eventually rebuilt our relationship. The whole experience changed me. It made me stronger, more resilient, and more determined to fight for what's right. I left Stellar Marketing and started my own marketing firm. It was small, but it was mine. And I made sure that everyone got the credit they deserved. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, failures, and moments of doubt, but I never gave up. I learned that revenge might feel good in the moment, but it's ultimately empty and unsatisfying. True satisfaction comes from building something positive, from making a difference in the world. Now, years later, my company is thriving. I'm surrounded by talented, passionate people who believe in what we're doing. I often think about Michael. I wonder if he regrets his actions. I wonder if he's learned his lesson. I don't hate him anymore. I pity him. He had so much potential, but he threw it all away because of greed and ambition. Could you forgive them? Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. Maybe I should have just let him get away with it. Maybe I should have protected my family at all costs. But then I remember the feeling of standing up for myself, of fighting for justice. And I know that I did the right thing. The story of Michael and Stellar Marketing spread quickly, and that also made me famous. I wrote a book about it called Credit Due. I became an influencer and motivational speaker. I give advice about true crime, corporate theft, and family betrayal. My fans love me. The entire time, I never used my name. Not once. Life can throw some crazy curveballs. Sometimes things get complicated and you can't make everyone happy. It's about finding out what makes you happy. I did find that. I stand here today not as a victim, but as a survivor. I turned a nightmare into an opportunity, a betrayal into a triumph. I became my best self, and that has led me to happiness. What do you think? What would you have done? Write in the comments below what you would choose. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories like this one. It's a small act that helps the channel grow and enables me to bring you more interesting content. Thank you for listening. A few years have passed since Michael's downfall. The scars of that time still linger, a faint ache in my heart. My office, now in a sleek modern building downtown, is a world away from the drab cubicle farm at Stellar Marketing. Sunlight streams through the panoramic windows, illuminating the vibrant artwork on the walls. It's a testament to how far I've come, how much I've rebuilt. But success doesn't erase the past. It just casts it in a different light. I started noticing strange things happening online. At first it was subtle, negative reviews appearing on my company's website, trolls leaving nasty comments on my social media posts. I brushed it off as the usual online noise, but then it escalated. Someone hacked my LinkedIn profile and replaced my professional photo with an unflattering meme. Then they started posting fake news articles about my company, accusing us of unethical practices. I was being targeted, and I had a feeling I knew who was behind it: Michael. Even from prison, he was trying to sabotage me. He was a master of manipulation, a puppet master pulling strings from behind bars. I contacted Sarah again, her skills even sharper, her resolve just as strong. "He's using a VPN and a burner phone," she said, after a few hours of digging. "But I can trace the IP address. It's coming from..." Joliet Correctional Center. Joliet, the prison where Michael was serving his sentence. He was using a smuggled phone to wage a cyber war against me. "Can you stop him?" I asked, my voice filled with anxiety. "I can try," Sarah said, "but it's like playing whack-a-mole. He'll just keep creating new accounts, new profiles." We needed to cut off his access to the internet. We needed to expose him. I decided to contact a reporter, someone I trusted to tell the story fairly. Emily Carter from the Chicago Tribune had covered Michael's trial. She was a seasoned journalist, known for her integrity and her commitment to justice. I told her everything about the cyber attacks, about Michael's revenge plot, about the smuggled phone. She was skeptical at first, but after seeing the evidence, she agreed to investigate. A week later, her article appeared on the front page of the Tribune. "Inmate waging cyber war from prison," the headline screamed. The story sparked outrage. The prison authorities launched an investigation. Michael's phone was confiscated, and he was placed in solitary confinement. The cyber attacks stopped. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but I knew this was just a temporary victory. Michael was still out there, seething with anger, plotting his... I couldn't shake the feeling that he would eventually come after me again. Then I received a letter. It was postmarked Joliet, but the return address was fake. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Scrawled across it in messy handwriting were 2 words: "He's out." My blood ran cold. He was free? How? Had he escaped? Had he been released early? I immediately called the prison. They confirmed that Michael had been released on parole. He had served just 3 years of his 5-year sentence. I felt a surge of panic. He was coming for me. I knew it. "What would you do?" I reached out to the police. I filed a restraining order. I hired a security firm to protect my office and my home. I was living in a fortress, but I still felt vulnerable. One evening, I was working late in my office. The city lights twinkled outside the window, a familiar backdrop to my late-night grind. I heard a noise outside my door, a faint scratching sound. I froze. I slowly got up from my chair and walked towards the door. My heart pounded in my chest. I peeked through the peephole. There was no one there, just an empty hallway. I let out a sigh of relief. It must have been my imagination. As I turned to go back to my desk, I saw something on the floor. A small white envelope. It had been slipped under the door. I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a photograph of my father. He was standing in front of his house, watering the lawn. The photo was recent. Someone had been watching him. I felt a wave of nausea. Michael was threatening my family. He was sending me a message. "I know where they are. I can get to them. I couldn't let him hurt my father. I couldn't let him hurt anyone I loved. I had to do something." I decided to confront him. I knew it was dangerous, but I couldn't live in fear anymore. I had to face him. I had to put an end to this once and for all. I contacted his parole officer and arranged a meeting. I wanted to see him face to face. I needed to understand why he was doing this. The meeting took place in a sterile, windowless room at the parole office. Michael was waiting for me. He looked older, thinner, but his eyes still held that same spark of malice. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice cold and flat. "I want you to leave me alone," I said. "I want you to leave my family alone." He smirked. "You ruined my life," he said. "You took everything from me." "You did that to yourself," I replied. "You made your own choices." "I'm going to make you pay," he said. "I'm going to make you suffer." I stared him down. "You can't hurt me," I said. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." He lunged at me, his hands reaching for my throat. The parole officer intervened, pulling him away. "Get him out of here," I said, my voice trembling. As they dragged him away, he turned to me and shouted, "This isn't over! I'll get you!" I left the parole office feeling shaken, but also strangely empowered. I had faced my demons. I had stood up to Michael, and I had survived. But I knew he was right. It wasn't over. He would never give up. He would never let go. I had to be ready for anything. I consulted with Sarah again. We beefed up my security, both physical and digital. We monitored Michael's online activity. We were always one step ahead of him. But I knew that eventually he would find a way to get to me. He was too smart, too resourceful, too determined. One night, I received a phone call from my father. He was frantic. "They're here," he said, his voice shaking. "They're trying to break into the house." My heart leaped into my throat. Michael had found him. He was attacking my family. "I'm calling the police," I said. "Stay inside. Don't open the door." I raced to my car and sped towards my father's house. The rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the city lights. I arrived to find the police already there. They had apprehended 2 men attempting to break into the house. It was Michael. He had been caught red-handed. This time, there was no escape. He was going back to prison. And this time, he wasn't coming out. I visited my father. He was shaken, but unharmed. He thanked me for saving him. I hugged him tight. I was just glad he was safe. As I drove home, I thought about Michael. He was, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. He had wasted his life on revenge. He had let his anger consume him. He had destroyed himself. And for what? What had he gained? Nothing. In the end, he was alone, miserable, and forgotten. I parked my car in the garage and walked toward my apartment. As I reached the door, I noticed something strange. A small white envelope lying on the floor. It was identical to the one Michael had sent me before. My blood ran cold. A photograph of Sarah. And on the back, scrawled in familiar handwriting, was a single word: soon. It wasn't Michael. He was in jail. So who sent the message? This can't be good. The chilling realization hit me. Michael wasn't working alone. Someone else was involved. Someone who knew me. Someone who wanted to hurt me. I rushed to Sarah's apartment, fear gnawing at my insides. The door was ajar. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The apartment was a mess. Furniture overturned. Papers scattered everywhere. Sarah was gone. Panic seized me. I called the police, but I knew it was already too late. Whoever had taken Sarah had a head start. Days turned into weeks. The police investigation stalled. I felt helpless, consumed by guilt and despair. I had put Sarah in danger. I had exposed her to Michael's wrath. I had to find her. I couldn't give up. I delved back into Sarah's files, searching for any clue, any lead. I found a hidden folder, encrypted with a complex password. After hours of trying, I